What's going on, everybody? I'm here to give you some tips for 21.4, which is awesome.
Rotating to the hip.
New runner.
Let's go. I'm so excited for this workout. I think it's an awesome test, especially when combined with 21.3. You're testing recovery, you're testing leg, grip endurance, your ability to think under pressure. Just a lot of, this is an awesome test when packaged together. And we got a heavy lift. Let's go. You gotta love some heavy lifting. So I'm gonna cover mechanics of the complex, a couple movement standards that you may not have seen or just to remind you of, and also warming up. Okay, so I'm just kind of the whole 7-minute period, what to think about leading into that 21.4. So first things first, after 21.3, rest, breathe. Take a minute of just relaxing, trying to get your heart rate down. Okay, you're gonna be very tired after 21.3. Don't be in a rush. You have 7 minutes. Take the first minute and just recover. Focus on your breathing. Get that heart rate down. You know, if you did the 21.3 in flat shoes and you normally lift in weightlifting shoes, you could change at that point. But if you already did them in weightlifting shoes, 21.3, then obviously just keep them on if you normally use weightlifting shoes for lifting. But just take that time to relax. Like, don't rush that period. And then from there, obviously you're gonna have your attempts planned out, but in your first warm-up set, I would not do the full complex. I would do at least 2, probably just 2, but 2 sets of a hang clean and jerk before I took my first attempt. Because you're kind of getting your bearings again. You're kind of transitioning from moving a lot of reps to, okay, this is a heavier weight, make sure everything's good, getting your hang clean kind of figured out. Because I think a lot of people, the hang clean is gonna be tough for a lot of people just because of the overall time under tension. And of course, after that first clean, you're gonna have to lower it down to the hang, which is grip. There's just gonna be a lot of things. I think it's gonna be best to practice that hang clean and then a jerk. And you're not getting too fatigued. Doing the whole complex right away as a warm-up, obviously you probably messed with it in your warm-ups even prior to 21.3, just kind of feeling it out, light. You don't need to warm that whole complex up. So do a couple sets of a hang clean and jerk, and it doesn't need to be too light. Like, I don't think you need to waste your time doing it, say, at 50% of what you plan on hitting in the complex. I would start at least 70, 75%, probably 70% of just a hang clean and jerk for your first set. So that's probably at the 2.5 minute mark, maybe 3 minutes even, where you're doing your first real warm-up type set. And then you can do a second one a little bit heavier, and then I would get one on the board. Just get one on the board that is solid, but that you're planning on probably taking 2, maybe 3 more attempts. I would not recommend doing more than 4 total sets on this complex. I actually probably 3 is about the right number, given the time you're gonna need to load the bar, rest and recover, and then get back on the bar. So 3 is probably that lucky number that you're working up to. The percentage, it's gonna depend, of course, on your capacity, your ability to recover from 21.3 into 21.4, and then your ability to recover between lifts. But I think 80 to 90%, you're gonna see a lot of people in those ranges. And if you're feeling good and you have less capacity, you might wanna take less attempts because you're gonna take longer to recover. So maybe you're doing 2 big actual attempts, but most people probably are gonna fall in that 3 to 4 range, which is completely fine. Now, for the hang clean, number 1 is it cannot pass below the knee. So that's one standard I just wanted you to be aware of. Now, what kind of hang clean you do is very important. Do what kind of hang clean you are very comfortable with. So you saw Scott Panchik in the announcement do a bounce clean, where he did the clean right here, came down and just straight bounced it into, of course, a squat clean. And you can power clean as well, but he did a bounce. The other brothers were doing a hang, a traditional hang to just above the knee, lowering over the bar. And also one other option, if you have done it in your weightlifting training, is a hip clean. So they did a hang, the 2 brothers, where they lowered. Scott had it here and just came down and straight bounced it right into the next clean. Another option you might consider is after that clean, you stand up, bringing it down into the hip, and then reloading up from that position. So, but only if you've done it. So The hang clean, I think it's important to do what you're comfortable with. So don't be doing the bounce clean if you're not super comfortable with it. Don't be doing the hip clean if you're not really comfortable with it. The benefit of the hip clean, even over the bounce clean, is that it's less grip intensive, right? Because that bounce clean, if your grip endurance is a little off, that bar might just fly out. Where the hip, it's sitting into your hips. You're not truly holding it. Your lower body is in that loading phase. But if you're not comfortable, don't do it. Do whatever kind of clean you are comfortable with. There's one more standard I wanted to talk about, and that is, well, I already mentioned it. You can power clean. You can power clean. You can squat clean. Oh, this is a shot clock. This is the one I want to cover. This is a shot clock time, meaning if, let's say you end at 15 minutes for easy math, and then you're going to then end at 21.4 at 22 minutes, as long as you pick up that bar starting the deadlift before 22 minutes, that rep can count if you make it. So you can start the complex 5 seconds before time expires, and even if you don't finish it, it's shot clock, right? You get the jump shot off before even it just leaves your hand. It doesn't have to be in by the time expires. So anyway, that's a new standard where in a lot of different workouts where you just have to start the complex before that time is expired. Okay, in this complex, when you're deadlifting to the hang, deadlifting before the touch and go clean, first things first, you're deadlifting, that's a perfect opportunity to get your upper back, to get your whole back set right from the top of the deadlift, and then keep it set as you're lowering. So setting from the top is very easy because there's not as much mobility required as opposed to the bottom position. So I would deadlift it very quick, get set, and I would lower immediately because again, you want to limit that time under tension. I would not deadlift it and then take numerous breaths. I mean, maybe you want to take a couple breaths, but I wouldn't take more than that, okay? Because again, it's gonna add up. You're doing that to the touch and go clean, to the hang clean, to the jerk. So the more time you're hanging here, just in the deadlift before that first clean, you're keeping your body loaded when you don't need to, okay? So get here, back set, and then I would start lowering immediately down into that touch and go clean. For that hang clean, do what you're most comfortable with. And then for the jerk, I mean, send it, right? I mean, have some fun. Make sure you stabilize before of course, you let it down. One thing too, I've seen this a lot, and just be aware of it. When athletes are going from that touch and go clean into that hang clean, a lot of times they'll start lowering the bar before they're all the way up. And of course, make sure you stand all the way up on that because it's easy to rush this complex because you're going to be fatigued. Okay, now in terms of jumps, make sure I would recommend 100% using 1 pound plates. The difference between 200 and 202 can be 300, 1,000. I mean, it can be a lot of spots on that leaderboard. So make sure you're using smart jumps in terms of that, right? Separating yourself just a little bit there and where you're comfortable, right? So try to get 1 pound plates if you don't have them, or borrow them from a friend or from a gym, wherever you need to get them from. I would highly recommend using those, okay? In terms of the whole workout, I would use all that 7 minutes. You saw it on the open workout where Scott, he's got way more in him. Like, I think he's got another 25, 30 pounds in that complex in him. I think his first set he took was at 275, which was about 3.5 minutes into the 7 minute period. And then I think he took 290 or 300, then 311. And they were all easy. They were all pretty easy. I think he was like, yeah, I actually felt better than I thought in that lift. So make sure when you're planning that first attempt, don't be too conservative in terms of worrying about how fatigued you are, because your hang clean and your jerk are going to give you a good feel on the first 2 warm-up sets for how the body's feeling. And then by the time you get to the complex, you have even more recovery. You're still recovering right from that 21.3 as the time's going on. So don't be too conservative there. I thought Scott's jumps were good, but I bet he redoes it, and I bet he does at least 25 to 30 pounds more in that complex because he's going to start that first actual complex weight probably at about 300. So that's just my opinion. So use those first 2 hang cleans. I mean, have some planned attempts going in, 3 or 4 maybe, and then from there, it's going to be a judgment call. Like you're gonna have a judgment call after probably the second attempt, like, do I wanna be really aggressive here? Do I wanna make sure I make this one? There's no perfect formula for that. You're gonna have to feel and make that decision, maybe with your coach in real time, based on how it looked, how it felt, what you think you're capable of making, load it up and do it, right? So have some fun with this one. I covered pretty much everything I wanted to cover already. Rest immediately after 21.3, breathe, get that heart rate down. In your warm-ups, I would recommend a hang clean and jerk, probably 2 sets of that. And then your first attempt at the complex, no more, at very most 4 actual sets of the complex, but more than likely 2 to 3 of actual attempts at the complex, because you're gonna want that recovery time. Use 1-pound plates if you have them. You can power clean if you want. For the hang clean, do the hang clean for you that you are most comfortable with. Hip, whether that's the bounce from top or whether that's a traditional hang where you're lowering to just above the knee, and it's shot clock rules. You can start even with 2 seconds before, as long as that bar is lifted up. If you make that lift, that rep will count. So use all of that time for your last attempt, because the more time you have, the better you're feeling, the more you have for that recovery. Okay, so good, best of luck. I'm here to help. If you guys have any questions, send me a message, of course. But yeah, I think you guys are gonna have a blast with this one. Trust yourself, trust your attempts, trust how you're feeling, and go attack it and have some fun. Good luck, guys.